everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I want to welcome you to the October 15, 2019 meeting of the Whitehall City Council for the purpose of considering such matters that may come before it. And I ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silence and remain standing for the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston.
Present.
Cantor.
Present.
Heck.
Present.
Morrison. Bailey.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Present.
Elmore.
Present.
President Graham.
Present. Next up, we have our approval of minutes for October 1, 2019 agenda and regular meeting.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 1st minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Coniston, a second by Mr. Cantor for approval of the October 1, 2019 meeting minutes. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston.
Yes.
Cantor.
Yes.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
The minutes have been approved. It's our first opportunity for poll public. If anyone would like to come forward, you will have up to 3 minutes. All righty, no takers this evening. We will move on to our standing committee reports. We'll begin with Administration and Financial Management. Chairperson Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administrative and Financial Management did meet last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file, and we plan to meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
All right, thank you, sir. Community and Elder Advocacy, Chairperson Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community and Elder Advocacy met last Tuesday. We have no drafts or pending legislation. Our minutes are on file. We will meet again next Tuesday in the back about 6:30.
All right, thank you. Community Standards and Enforcement, Chairperson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community Standards and Enforcement met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
All righty. Economic Development, Chairperson Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Economic Development also met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file, and we'll meet again sometime after 6:30 in the back next Tuesday.
All right, thank you, sir. Infrastructure, Maintenance, and Services, Chairperson Heck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Infrastructure Maintenance and Services met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file. We have no pending drafts or legislation, and we will meet next Tuesday sometime after 6:30 in the back.
Great, thank you. Public Safety, Chairperson Coniston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety met last week. Our minutes are on file, and we'll meet again in the back on Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
All righty, thank you. Parks and Recreation, Chairperson Cantor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Parks and Recreation also met last week. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again in the back next week.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, that concludes our standing committee reports. We'll move on to our officials' reports, and as usual, we'll begin with our mayor, Ms. Kim Manger.
Good evening. Thank you for attending this evening. I have no official report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have our city attorney, Mr. Michael Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Just officially, the Legal Rams will be kicking off this Thursday. We're getting ready for the January competition. And then last but not least, I would like to thank council again, as well as the greater Whitehall community for its support for the community giveaway, and specifically recognize Councilmember Cantor and Bailey for wearing their purple tonight. Our auditor always does that, so he has been doing it since the beginning of the year, but I wanted to give special recognition to the two of you since you called me out before council today. So, thank you all, and it was a really good event, so I really appreciate the turnout, and I really appreciate the support.
All right, well, thank you, sir. Next up, we have our city auditor, Mr. Dan Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official report other than what you have in front of you. We'd like to ask for favorable consideration on ordinances 119 and resolution 49.
All right, thank you, sir. Next, that brings us to our treasurer, Mr. Steve Quinzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official reports.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, the following officials' reports have been filed in the council office since our last meeting. We do have the auditor's expense report for September 2019, the auditor's bank report for September 2019, the auditor's statement of cash position report for September 2019, along with the auditor's revenue report for September 2019. We've also received the treasurer's investment report for September 2019, the treasurer's activity by fund report for September 2019, and concluding with the treasurer's fund reconciliation report for September 2019. Under communications, petitions, and claims, we have no items listed on the agenda this evening. That brings us to our verification of copies. Ms. Aug, please call the roll on whether each member of council was given a copy of each item of legislation listed on the agenda prior to the meeting and including any add-on legislation.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
All righty, we will move on with our legislative items this evening. First off, we have we have no items for third reading this evening. We also have no items listed under second readings. So we will begin with our first reading items, and we start with ordinance 117, 2019. It's providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum principal amount of $9,620,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the costs of the acquisition by the city of a portion of an approximately 37-acre parcel in the northern corner of Hamilton Road and East Broad Street, all in support of economic development and job creation within the city that will result in the elimination of blight and nuisance on and around the acquired property and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 117, 2019, move for the suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez and a second by Ms. Elmore for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 117, 2019. Questions or comments? Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 117, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, a second by Ms. Elmore for adoption of ordinance 117, 2019. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 117, 2019 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 118, 2019. It's providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum principal amount of $1,750,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay the costs of a court-approved final settlement of claims made by the city in the case of the City of Whitehall et al. Versus Olander Thomas J. et al. Case number 2007 EVH 060217 in Franklin County Municipal Court and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 118, 2019, move for the suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez and a second by Ms. Elmore for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 118, 2019. Questions or comments? Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 118, 2019.
Thank you. Move to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez and a second by Ms. Elmore for adoption of ordinance 118, 2019. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Elmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 118, 2019 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 119, 2019. It's approving and making a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $10,000 from unappropriated monies in the Plumbing Permits Fund to the Plumbing Permits account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 119-2019, move for suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Morrison for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 119, 2019. Questions or comments? Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 119, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Morrison for adoption of ordinance 119, 2019. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 119, 2019 has been adopted. It's the last ordinance we have before us this evening. We do have several resolutions. We will go through them at this time. We have Resolution 49, 2019, resolving to approve then and now certificates and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Resolution 49, 2019. Move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rodriguez for introduction and suspension of all rules on Resolution 49, 2019. Questions or comments? Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on Resolution 49, 2019.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Rodriguez for adoption of Resolution 49, 2019. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston,
Yes.
Cantor.
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Resolution 49, 2019 has, am I looking at that right?
You are.
Resolution 49, 2019 has been adopted. Our next resolution is 50, 2019. It's authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement and accept title to parcel number 090-005414-00 from Empowering Columbus LLC located within the city of Whitehall and pay all fees associated with the transfer of property. And that resolution is being read by title only. It is the last item of legislation we have before us this evening. That brings us to our second opportunity for poll public. If anyone would like to come forward, you will have up to 3 minutes. All right, we'll move on to Community Date Board. Who has something for Community Date Board?
I would just like to remind everybody to come out to the Halloween walk on Saturday, October 26th at 1 o'clock at Etna Road Elementary.
When is the judging?
That will be going on the week after.
The week after, so that
Yes,
would be
the actual week of Halloween.
week of Halloween. I had some.
That way people don't take their decorations down early.
Yes, yes, yes.
We had trick or treating on the 31st. Okay.
6 to
Safer,
8. 6 to 8.
Safer Whitehall on the 30th. That's 6 to 7:30.
I
That's what I
believe
have.
so.
Okay.
Don't have it in front of me.
That's fine. I think that's what I have. Yeah. 6 to 7.
It is at Victory Ministries.
Correct. Thank you. I'm done.
Who else has something for Community Date Board?
Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, well, if we're good for now, that brings us to full council. We'll start with Ms. Coniston.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and thank everybody for viewing, and I'll see everybody at the Halloween walk.
All right, Mr. Canner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for everybody for watching. And I will also see everybody at the Halloween walk. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Heck.
Just thank you for everybody that tuned in on Facebook and those that came out tonight, and I will also see everybody at the Halloween walk.
Mr. Morrison.
Also, I'd like to thank everyone for watching and those who showed up in person, and everyone have a good week.
All right, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see you folks here tonight. Appreciate you coming out. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder that tonight is a regular trash night. Veterans Day did not count yesterday, that's all I have.
Columbus Day?
Columbus
Day.
That's what I meant.
We know what you meant.
Way too much TMI.
All right, Ms. Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for those that are here, are viewing, some new faces out here. Also, Norton Project is moving along well. I want to congratulate Detective Mark Hopper. Thank you for your 20 years of service to Whitehall Public Safety. And also, I wanted to mention that we have one of Whitehall's greatest, Steve Canetto, will be debuting the Intersected Lives Project opening reception Thursday, October the 29th, 6 to 9 at the King's Arts Complex, Elijah Pierce Gallery. And the project is produced and collaborated with Columbus Museum of Art. He does phenomenal work. Please go out and support him. He is a Whitehall citizen, and we need to support our community. And that is all, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Well, I also want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. We got a lot done here. We've almost cleared our agenda totally. We have no other official business before us. I would therefore entertain a motion of adjournment.
Mr. President, move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Cantor for adjournment. Ms. Aug, please call the roll.
Coniston?
Yes.
Cantor?
Yes.
Heck?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Yes,
Rodriguez?
yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. I hope to see you all back here in a couple, let's see. Actually, it'll be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
1625.
Because we won't be having another formal meeting like this month.
Tuesday.
All right,